Welcome to Conversations with Postpartner, where we explore aspects of running a successful wedding photography business through conversations with real wedding photographers around the world. On this episode, we talk to Jane Ferrell, who's the creator and lead photographer of Jane in the Woods, a wedding collective offering photography, florals, planning, and more in Sedona, Arizona. You get to hear all about her journey of establishing herself in Sedona as a one-stop shop for couples looking to get married in this picturesque town. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Jane Ferrell. Awesome. Jane, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you could be on this podcast. Why don't you tell our listeners who you are, where you are, what you're all about, and your business a little bit, Jane in the Woods.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. You guys have been a huge part of my business, so it's really cool that we get to be here chatting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yes. My name is Jane. I live in Sedona, Arizona, and I own a wedding company, and we do photography, planning, flowers, just about to launch some wedding stationery, and then We'll see where that goes.
So how did that all start? Was it first photography and then the other kind of pieces fell into place, or what was that process?
Yes. So, kind of backtracking a long time, 10 years or so, I was working as a studio photographer, doing just a lot of like products on white backdrops, kind of boring, not my style. And they were paying me, I think, $10 an hour to be a studio photographer, shooting catalogs and product and whatnot. I was going out of my mind. I was really bored. I didn't like my job. So on the weekends, I started kind of shooting couples and weddings and really found that that's where my passion was. But I didn't actually think that it could be a career. I didn't know that you could actually make a living as a photographer. I mean, because I wasn't. I was making minimum wage or something as a photographer. Yeah. And so that was kind of the first step, was even saying, I want to do something on my own and do photography outside of a commercial setting. So I started kind of to get the ball rolling with my own business. And
how long ago was this?
About 2011, 2012. Okay. So that's like 8 or 9 years ago is when I kind of started jumping off into doing weddings and couples and just getting outside. And at the time I lived in Oregon, and so it was a lot different than here. So then my business just kind of started growing, and you kind of get clients here and there, you do some creative things here and there, but then I noticed that I was just sitting at my own desk alone for most of the time. And then I found myself kind of missing the commercial side of it, because on those days when you got to shoot a catalog, it was like 20 models and art director and teams of people and
little community.
Exactly. And wedding days are like that, which is why I love that kind of camaraderie. But then still, how many weddings are you shooting a year that have kind of a big team like that? And so what I wanted was a creative team that I got to work with every day, while also still maintaining my own alone time. So like this is my studio. No one else works here. I'm the only one that works here, because that alone time is really important to me. But what's equally important to me is bouncing off creative ideas and being more involved in the creative process of a wedding, from deciding colors, getting to know the brides, doing the flowers and the planning and all those little details that go into the day. I really feel like all that creativity just helps the photos of the day turn out so much better.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So you built a team around you with like making it a commercial experience, but for weddings, which typically aren't a commercial experience. It's very much, you're at the whim of like the day and the planners and the florists.
Yeah.
So you're just like, just give me all of that. I'll do it all.
Yes. Actually, I haven't thought about it that way, but that is absolutely so on point.
Yeah.
Now, so I have a planner that works for me and a couple associate photographers that work for me,
Yeah.
and an assistant and some other kind of help. When it's just me walking into a wedding day with people who aren't on my team, it's so much harder. You're
Yeah.
walking into unknown. You haven't been building a relationship with a bride for a year, 8 months, in the same way that a wedding planning team builds a relationship.
Hmm.
So when there's multiple of us working on a wedding, we have such a good idea of what the day is going to look like. I have this shot list in my head of exactly what's happening because I know what all the flowers are going to look like, what's important to them. Just a lot of these details that are on a more connected level than when you just walk in as a photographer.
That's so good. And so what does your team look like right now? You mentioned that you have a couple associates, you have a planner. What exactly is it? Because I can't imagine you're doing everything.
No, I'm definitely not doing everything. And that might have been the first reason that I started to expand my team, is because I knew that I didn't want to do every job. So the first thing I really wanted was an assistant to kind of help me with some of these tasks so that I could focus on more of the business building side of things, being creative. That's why I hired you guys to start editing all my pictures
Hmm.
so that I didn't have to spend my time doing the editing. Um, the first major thing that I did was those two things. I hired an assistant for myself and I hired you guys to start doing my post processing.
Hmm.
And then after that, I brought on our lead wedding planner, Kelsey, who's now also the company creative director,
Wow.
which I will say has been truly remarkable. And really, I understand that it's unique. I mean, she kind of just
Hmm.
fell into my lap. She's insanely talented. She's a phenomenal wedding planner, and she wants to work for this vision that I already created. So it was truly just kind of, how does it get better than that kind of
Yeah.
moment.
So like looking back to when you were starting in 2011, sorry,
Yeah,
um,
no.
is this kind of like where you're at now? Was that what you were envisioning when you were getting into wedding photography, coming out of that commercial photography, or was that just like a natural progression? You're like, oh, I should probably just take this aspect because I can do it and I'm passionate about it.
I didn't have a clear vision of what it would look like, but what I would journal and what I would want was to be working with a creative team daily.
Hmm.
So I didn't know that they would be working for me. I didn't um I didn't even see that as a possibility in the beginning because like I said, I didn't even know that you could make a living as a wedding photographer. I thought it
Yeah.
was more like I'll be able to have some fun and do something fulfilling on the weekend. Um, that brings me joy.
Yeah, and your wedding like photography style is a bit unique, especially like for me coming from the Pacific Northwest. I don't see like orange mountains in the desert all the time.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you said you were from Oregon, which is very similar to that. Um, what was that like transitioning into like Sedona, the desert, and now being like part of that whole market?
That whole vibe.
Yeah,
It's funny that you actually say that because when I moved to Sedona, I had such a heavy northwest, like a lot
mm,
of shadows kind of vibe,
yeah,
that when I got here, I was really the only photographer at the time in the southwest area that I live in that was doing this sort of style. Um, so it's been a unique ride the whole time. I mean, because
yeah,
when I was living in Oregon and, living in the Northwest, the people who were influencing me were living in Seattle and Portland and all these heavy fog, lots of trees,
yeah.
overcast days, which I really loved. I really, I love that mood. I love the light in those. I love that Oregon backdrop. So really, I was honestly kind of just like a dime a dozen. I
Hmm.
mean, I had the same style that everyone else had. The people that were influencing me lived in the same region. And, my wedding business was definitely going and it was great because I like to work really hard and, But when I moved to Sedona, it really was different. A lot of the photographers here were using a lot of flash
Hmm.
to get their subjects lit the way they want to against the backdrops of the red rocks, or people were doing super high exposure to do kind of those bright white desert backdrops.
Hmm.
So when I moved here, it was like, well, how can I make this moody vibe fit in the desert?
Yeah.
Was that your question? Did that answer
Yeah,
your
no,
question?
that was great. I always I find it humorous that like you've definitely taken the Pacific Northwest to Sedona, even in keeping your name Jane in the Woods. Like your brand is still like in the woods, but you're technically Jane in the desert,
Yeah, pretty much.
coming from the woods.
Mhm.
And we've had conversations before about how you kind of stand out a bit as like an elopement or destination photographer because you have this specific editing style in Sedona.
Mhm.
What's like the rest of the market like now? You mentioned it was like flash heavy back in the day and kind of had a specific style.
Yeah,
What's it like now? Has it changed? Has that evolved?
yeah, it definitely, definitely has changed. So when I moved here 6 years ago, it took me basically 3 to 6 months to get on the first page of Google, which is like unheard of, right? All I
Yeah,
did was basically type in Sedona wedding photographer on my website, and there I was. That's
yeah,
how uncrowded the market was, which
yeah,
Oregon, that never happened. I think the highest I ranked was maybe page 18 or something.
yeah,
Um, and that was still having kind of like a good business. Like I landed a magazine cover when I lived in Oregon.
yeah.
I had contacts, like was, so when I moved here, that's what it looked like. I was really, truly unique, and it was pretty cool to be in that position.
Hmm.
Flash forward 6 years later, most people that live in the Phoenix area, think of it as like a dream to come up and do photos in Sedona. We're about 2 hours away from that major city
Hmm.
area. So a lot of people will do it for no travel fees, for lower costs, just because they're so excited to kind of get out of the city where they live in and come do these really cool epic shoots out in the Red Rocks, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I find myself bumping into a lot of photographers all the time when I'm out shooting.
Hmm.
I think when I started, you know, it would be extremely rare to run into someone, and the person that I would run into would be like a friend, because Sedona's a population of 10,000. You kind of just
Yeah.
know everyone. You're like, oh, hey. And so now when I go out onto a shoot, in some of these popular spots, I could see like 4 to 5 wedding couples or
Yeah.
engagement photographers and stuff. And so you get a wide mix of style because of all the photographers coming from the bigger city, just kind of the overall of what the industry looks like right now.
Yeah.
I would say that it's being influenced a lot by India Earl and the Hearns. They
Hmm.
are geographically kind of in a similar location to us. The color story is really similar to us. And so I would say that a lot of people photographing in this area are really attracted to that, because it looks great. It's a great fit for where we are.
Yeah.
I'd say that's, more what I see now. So I'm not so unique anymore.
We definitely like have carved out your niche there.
For sure, that's there. But in terms of style, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot more people here now.
Yeah. So are you recognizing less photographers now that you're going out? Like when you bump into other people on shoots?
um, yeah, maybe half and half. But most people have heard of each other. And so you
Yeah.
kind of just like introduce yourself. Usually I'm wearing my Jane in the Woods t-shirt
Mhm.
just because that's what I like to wear when I'm, out and hiking
Yeah.
and stuff. And but it's always fun to run into someone. You
Yeah, definitely. We have one of those destinations just north of us, Whistler, that a lot of people will come and get married
Oh,
at. So I know a few people who actually work out of that market, but I have no idea like what it's like to work in a destination market as a local.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Because yeah, I'm sure like you know other photographers who are there working, but you also see tons of people just flocking there because they're like, oh, beautiful mountains, my couples want this. So like coming
yeah,
from out of state, out of country even.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually really huge. So basically 100% of our weddings are destination weddings
Wow.
because no one lives in Sedona. I think I've shot 2 locals' weddings in 6 years.
Wow.
That's just how
That's wild.
tiny the town is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, both of those people I knew personally, and I think when you live in a maybe a different type of town, you book more based on personal relationships and just kind of being around town and being known.
Hmm.
But in Sedona, it's absolutely essential to have your website speak for you and have your Instagram speak for you
Hmm.
because 100% of or 99% of our brides don't live here.
Yeah.
So, um, you need to have a lot more information readily accessible to people, kind of
Mm.
show them what it looks like, just reassure them that it can seem complicated to plan something from so far away, but we do this all the time. And yeah, it's much different.
Interesting.
But also awesome because I'd say I basically never do in-person meetings.
Yeah. Okay. So you're just meeting the couples on the day of because they're from
Um,
out of state or.
If it's an elopement, then yes, I meet them on the day of. And then if it's a bigger wedding, most people fly out here to start planning and they'll do their engagement session at that point, which is something that I really love to do. I mean, I love to meet them beforehand. I
Mhm.
just don't love to fill my schedule with potential client meetings.
Yeah, for sure. Not knowing if they're gonna book or not, go someone else.
Well, for sure. Yeah, we just don't have time for that.
I mean, you got three different things going on. A fourth
We
coming.
have a lot of going on.
Yeah,
Last year we had over 600 inquiries. So
that's
for us,
crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. So that's what
Congrats,
I
though.
mean.
That's awesome.
I have to like package that information, make it really easy to read, kind of at least get people past that first step to
Mhm.
where if they're actually interested, of course I want to talk to you because I want to know all about your day, but I
Yeah,
can't do that for that many people.
yeah. How have you like changed your content on your website to be more intentional about that? Like, can you go into any specifics about like your thought process behind, hey, I know
Yeah.
my clients are coming from out of state. This is what they're going to need to know, and this is why I'm like great for them.
Yeah. So the first thing I'd say is that I love building my website.
Hmm.
It's something that I could spend a lot of time on because it just gets my wheels going and I truly love it.
Yeah, you're
Um,
special. Most people are like, oh, I can't stand updating my website. It's been like 3 years.
oh, yeah, yeah. Well, maybe that's huge because a huge comment that I hear from brides
Hmm.
is that they feel pretty overwhelmed planning a destination wedding because they can't get enough information about the location that they want to go to
Yeah.
feel comfortable to plan a wedding there. Um, People respond to me all the time like, okay, cool, you're the only person that answered my email, so sure, let's do it, or something like that, because that's already what the market is like. So I would just say, having an awesome website is the first
Yeah.
start. And then since I do love building my website, I do find myself often kind of updating what I want to tell people. We do have a really large pool of inquiries, so it's very easy for us to kind of cull the information down and
Mhm.
see, okay, 12 people have asked us the same question in the last 2 weeks. Maybe we should make that information, more upfront and available.
Yeah.
So the the information on the website goes in pretty in depth with things. But then when people email us, they get a really in depth link with all our pricing, a lot of questions that they want answered,
Hmm.
um, tons of photos so people can just kind of connect with what it looks like here and really just developing that sense of trust. If they like our vibe, we want to show what that is so that they can know exactly what they're getting into.
Yeah. No, that's so important. We find
For
that,
sure.
yeah, just
Yes.
having information is so key, especially these days. There's just so many photographers out there, and so many photographers are doing well to like showcase their work, whether it's on like Instagram or their websites. But I feel like information is like such a high commodity right now. Um,
Uh-huh.
And you guys definitely have like higher authority being like locals, A, so you know the
Yeah.
area. B,
Yes.
you're also like,
Super key.
yeah, you know all the spots.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you talk to your couples about the different spots and give them some choices and options. But you're also
Hmm.
like you're the planning part of it too, and florals. So it's like, hey, just come to us, let us do it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first kind of started, I thought people would think it was cheesy, and I was kind of embarrassed. Like, yeah, you can just book us like for everything. I
Mhm.
really was scared that people were going to take my photography less seriously and kind of group me in this category of not a specialist, but just kind of a turn and burn kind of. But I mean, I
Yeah,
think our content speaks for itself, and that hasn't been the case. So I'm more
yeah.
relaxed about it.
Oh, that's good. And have you done anything to try and like combat that? Because it's definitely like an internal struggle where it's like, oh, am I coming across cheesy or like too try hardy? But I know that you have done like styled shoots. You've done different things for different like magazine and publishing like houses. What how do you like combat that, the inner struggle of like I don't want to be like irrelevant or cheesy or like
Yeah, totally. I think it's my team.
mm,
At any moment of the day, I have so many people that I can just text or call that literally are just here working for Jane in the Woods.
yeah,
We can bounce off ideas. We have, true feedback. I feel like we're all really honest with each other. Like, yes, no, this is the best. It's really become clear whose strengths are what.
mhm,
For example, our wedding planner, Kelsey, obviously is like the queen of details and communicating amazing with people, and because that's what she does.
yeah,
And so I run everything by her because that's what she's good at. And if she wants to post a photo on Instagram, she asks me, like, how does this look, this or that? And, so
yeah.
it comes back to the team.
That's great. It's like a relationship. You kind of like fill in the gaps where like, you can't do one thing. You're like, I'm relying on you to
Yes,
do this.
absolutely. Yeah. Which I've said so many times. I'm not the best at all of these things, which is why you guys edit my pictures because you're better at editing than I am.
I mean, you're pretty good, so you need to
I
give
could
yourself some credit.
not keep up with you guys
We got the speed thing down. That's years of
for
practice.
for sure.
Yeah. One thing that we haven't touched on that I totally forgot to talk about when we started this was you're also like a mother.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You have children. You have a dog, which you just showed me before.
Yes.
Um, like
Dogs.
how do you balance out being like first a mother, a wife, um, and also running a business with your other marriage with like your planners and your
Yeah,
business.
Kelsey's my work wife, so
Yeah.
that relationship always also requires a lot of love and
Yeah.
attention. Um, yeah, I used to think that I could do it all, because I needed my personal vision to come through on every task and every to do. And I eventually reached a point where I learned that it's good enough
Hmm.
to offer what I can, to give other tasks to other people, to not be the most perfect mom that attends every single event. Um, for example, sometimes I miss events for my daughter's school.
Mhm.
I booked a wedding this year on Halloween. My heart is broken that I won't get to see my kids dressed up, but at the end of the day, I think it's more about realizing the privilege that I have to have all of these roles
Mhm.
and look at it through the lens of what's the triage, like what's the most important to make sure that we can still be living this life that we're grateful for.
Mhm.
And so sometimes my marketing falls behind and I don't post at all because I'm focused on getting weddings out. And, obviously existing clients are more important than bringing new clients in. Or sometimes my kids are sick and I just have to kind of take a couple days off and my clients just have to deal with that
Yeah.
because, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Letting go of perfectionism, maybe. It's been a big one.
Yeah, that's definitely important. And how like do you set up like limits on how much you work, or like boundaries for like work-life balance to kind of give your
I
kids the
do.
attention that they deserve? Or
Yes, definitely. This actually goes for me both ways because since it's just me in my studio, and some weeks I can get away with not really working that much, it's kind of just ebb and flow
yeah,
of, cool, so I worked 90 hours in the last 10 weeks, but I can't just not do anything the following week. It's
yeah,
kind of about like staying as consistent as I can. So I do track my time when I'm at work. I track what tasks I'm doing when, and it kind of tells me the breakdown. And as long as I'm working an average work week of what I think is comfortable,
hmm,
then then that works for me. And so if I can see like, gosh, I really worked a lot last week and I wasn't noticing that, I'm allowed to take the day off.
yeah,
It's really
that's good.
hard to take a day off in this current market that I'm in because people want to elope every day of the week.
Yeah,
So I tried taking one day off a week, which was Wednesday. And it was kind of like, gosh, I'm taking this arbitrary day off just to kind of create some space for myself. But
mm.
I'm blown away by how many people want to get married on a Wednesday. So
yeah,
I realized that the drawback of this career is that you just can't have a normal work week. It just
yeah,
I mean, I've tried. I don't think it's possible, but tracking my time and just staying as consistent with it as I can has really, really helped.
yeah. That's good. Do you have like set hours that you are like in the studio, and that's just like, I'm gonna work as much as I can? Is that what you mean by like you track your time, you put in your time, and then go back home, or what does that look like?
I would say my work hours are actually more influenced around what's happening outside of work.
Hmm.
Um, some certain nights of the week, it's definitely family time. But on Tuesday, I could work a 14-hour day if I needed to, because that's my day to get as much done as I want. Um, on a wedding night or on an actual wedding day, it's kind of known in my household that I like to go home, cull immediately. So my family, has that space for me
Yeah.
because that's kind of what's required of the job.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I kind of set things that I want to make sure that are happening in my life, like taking care of myself, working out, being with my kids, having family time, blocking off time for a vacation. Sometimes I'll block off like a 3-day weekend if it's October or May and I'm just working like a crazy amount. Um, and then outside of that time, I'm just more prone to be a workaholic, work all the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of do the opposite.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember we chatted a while back and around vacations, and I was like, when was the last time you took an actual vacation? Like a week, 2 weeks off, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. But
Years.
I've been so much better. Yeah. I think in the last 2 years, um, we did actually take 2 actual vacations, like
Wow.
time off. It actually happened.
How was that? Was it great? Or
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
stressed about
great.
work the whole time?
Um, I mean both. I mean, again, when this is your job, it's just the downside is it's just your whole life. But the upside is it's your whole life and there's a
Mhm.
lot of flexibility in that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you found at least somewhat some balance, and you seem like you're not crazy, pulling out your hair, crying, you're smiling, so that's good. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
like if you are looking ahead, like can you see yourself maintaining this long term?
Yeah.
Cool.
Um, I just love growing. I love all the new people that are
Hmm.
kind of coming on my team. So yeah, we were talking earlier. We have a wedding planner. We have an associate wedding planner, 2 associate photographers, kind of a third in training. I have an assistant, and it's amazing. So
Yeah,
we're working with a graphic designer on our new line of stationery,
cool.
and
Yeah, why don't you talk about that? What does that look like for
yeah,
a wedding photographer, wedding planner, florist company?
and yeah, it's just It's just kind of the same list I was telling you about. When I started, I just
Hmm.
wanted to be working with a creative team.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by a lot of things when I first started in the wedding industry. And I just wanted to have all of it. I just loved my brand so much. And
Mhm.
I loved being able to have, I loved having brides that loved the brand.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to bring that just in the biggest scope that I could. So,
Cool.
um, and that's what people say. They're like, we just want that Jane in the Woods touch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we do too.
It's got to be good to hear. So then
Yes.
it doesn't stop with stationery, right? It's the next thing and then the next
I mean,
thing, right?
we'll see. Yeah, yeah. Who
Like
knows?
maybe like buy a venue down the road or
Oh God, that is
officiants and
that's absolutely a dream. To open
yeah,
a venue would be, yeah, that'd be it.
yeah. I guess for
It's
you,
definitely on our minds, and would love to do that someday.
yeah. I guess for you it'd be like a reception hall because you'd want to still elope out in like the magical mountains and then come back to the cool reception hall.
Um, it could be
Who knows?
both. Like, so it's actually kind of hard to have a ceremony for a lot of people with the awesome backdrops,
Hmm.
just because of logistically how small the town is and where the stuff is, and so there's a lot of opportunity here to put on some really cool events and help it be more accessible for larger weddings.
Yeah, that's cool. So you mentioned like I feel like I get like like you remind me a bit of like the Magnolia story where like you started off like do you know like Chip and Joanna Gaines
Oh yeah, yeah.
where they like built the silos in like Waco,
Like
Texas.
the highest compliment a human
But
can.
it seems like that's like where you're heading towards, where like it started off as like a business just to like make ends meet. It's something you're passionate about, and then it became something bigger, and then something bigger. Can you see yourself being like the community person that's like heading up all these like events and having your own space and doing all that kind of stuff? Or is that something you even would want to do?
I don't know about community events. I do very much feel like our passion is weddings.
Hmm.
Anytime we've kind of taken like a different type of job or this, it just doesn't necessarily hold my interest in the same way that weddings do. We're
Hmm.
just kind of like romantic people. We love the weddings.
Yeah.
Um, but I just feel really lucky that I found what I love to do a very long time ago and that I'm still interested in it. And
Hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I feel like there's just nothing more powerful than that kind of momentum behind something. And then also the gift of still having the momentum for the thing.
Yeah. Totally. And then putting that into not just photography, but yeah, like your floral company, your stationery now.
Yeah, yeah, another outlet. I remember actually a couple years ago, there was kind of a deciding point, like, because at the time, the other aspects of my business weren't as profitable. Definitely just the weddings were the most profitable
Hmm.
part. And it was kind of like, well, I could focus all my energy on booking as many big weddings as I could in a year, and my income would really, go up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Or I could do all these other things that I'm also passionate within the same realm so I don't get burned out on only doing weddings by myself every single weekend.
Yeah.
And I chose the other. I chose building my team, maybe taking a pay cut in the beginning by not just focusing my efforts only on booking big weddings. And now, since I really just kind of put my attention where my interest and my passion is, the the weddings that we're booking now are truly just the coolest weddings that I've ever even heard of. I mean,
Yeah.
they're cooler than I
Awesome.
could have even dreamed before I started all of this.
Yeah. Like as a photographer, you have like your like dream wedding in your mind. So you're saying like they're beyond that now. Like you've had your dream wedding shot and you've photographed it. Now they're just getting better and better.
Yeah, our clients aren't bound by kind of like social norms for whatever reason. Like when I first started my career, I found a lot of my brides were, I mean, I was just starting my career, so I was kind of booking these brides that were more interested in what they saw on Pinterest and this and that.
Yeah.
And now just who our brides are as people are people who don't believe in limits or being held back. They just want what they want, and that's awesome for
Yeah.
us. We just want to make all those awesome things happen.
Yeah. It's so fun. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure that adds to the like just the passion of wanting to do it more and more because you're
For
like, who's gonna
sure.
come? Who's gonna come through next?
Exactly. Like, oh, cool. The wedding today has a psychic and an aura photo booth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
weddings are just fun, and I feel like all this additional attention that goes into the details, it just is even more fun, and
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. It's just like a
Uh,
party.
yeah, it's so cool.
Yes.
I kind of want to go back to how you got into like the planning and flower side of it and kind of like how you grew that. Was it was it largely based on just the people you were hiring, or like how did you incorporate that into your brand and kind of have that be like a big part of your business?
Yeah. So I remember when I was first starting out, mine didn't have, as big of budgets as my clients now do. But I did find that one of the most frustrating parts of my job was that people were not choosing florists that, well, cool florals are pretty apparent in this market today. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
flowers are just cool. People are very creative,
yeah,
you know. And in 2011, Pinterest wasn't even necessarily a thing yet. So there were some florists. So with the flowers, I was just seeing a lot of the time that basically I just was wishing brides were hiring cooler florists. and
yeah,
and it was really accessible in Oregon, and so I felt like I had sort of a say, and it could happen in the Northwest. And then when I moved to Sedona, it was just the style was not here yet. And so I just honestly decided to do it myself
hmm
because living in the Northwest, it was so pretty and there was so much creativity and it just wasn't a thing here yet. And I just personally wanted to photograph cooler flowers because I knew it would make the photos look better. So that's how that started.
And then so yeah, how did you like? What did that look like? Did you go to like greenhouses or um, like nurseries and just start like building bouquets that you wanted, or?
So yeah, I just contacted a wholesale florist. I used Mayesh, and I just kind of faked it till I made it.
I
Here's
don't know
what
if you
I'm
could tell by my
doing.
question. I have no idea anything about florals. So
I did work at a little retail slash flower shop in Oregon
yeah,
for a year and a half. So I kind of had been around it for a while and just kind of saw, I took a real interest in it. And, um, I just wanted to take pictures of cooler flowers.
yeah. So how did you then introduce that to your clients? Because I mean, wanting your clients to have nice florals and then them actually buying nice florals is completely different. Like, how did you bridge that gap?
Yeah. So flowers are not cheap. I mean, our bouquets start at like $400 and could
Mm,
easily be 500, kind of depending on what they, are ordering. And I don't think a lot of people are necessarily prepared for flowers to cost that much.
yeah, no kidding.
So, because you go to the market and it's like, oh, it's much less expensive.
Yeah,
It's just different. So It started very informally just because I personally, wanted to kind of get some jobs under my belt. So I just started posting on Instagram, kind of like hashtag Jane in the Woods Floral, like here's kind of what we did. I foot the bill for the first bouquets because I just wanted to be creative and make something cool.
Yeah.
And then slowly people just kind of saw it on Instagram, like, oh, you do flowers too? Oh, cool, let's add that. And
Cool.
the other thing that I can speak to about elopements is that a lot of people who are eloping are already pretty excited that they're not spending the whole giant amount of money on a wedding.
Mhm.
That prices for things for elopement seem less and seem small. And since their main focus is just kind of like the photos for a fun day, they kind of want all the details and all the things so they can make that one day really special.
Yeah.
And we find that a lot of our clients who are eloping are not necessarily inhibited by price, because to them it's kind of like, we're not paying all this, so sure, we'll just do kind of that.
Yeah. Still saving at the end of the day.
Exactly. And so they can kind of get the best and get exactly what they want because their day is so tiny.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of started posting, and it just kind of caught on. And then now that we booked so many elopements, it's kind of just easy. Like, hey, do you want to add on some flowers? And now that I have a planner working for the company, she's an amazing salesperson, and people usually book their
helpful.
planners first.
Yeah.
And so, which has actually been a really interesting transition. Definitely at first it was like photography, because that's what we were known for. And then it was like, oh, you also have a planner, to whereas now people are just inquiring for planning.
Interesting.
And then it's Kelsey saying like, oh, we also have photography and flowers, which pretty much just blows my mind. It's like, it really speaks to how much it's grown and how cool it is.
Yeah. That's such an interesting change.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's truly amazing.
Yeah. Hopefully your pride is still intact. After being like,
oh yeah. It means that I don't have to work quite as much, so I'm fine.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Kelsey sounds like she's awesome.
She's a dream. Yeah.
So back to like, I just want to parse out that whole like introducing the flowers to your clients. You mentioned that you footed the bill for like the first few. Was that just like you went to your clients, you're like, hey, I have this idea for flowers. It's a little bit different than what you've seen before, what you're used to. Like, can you just trust me? Was it like that, or was it like a styled shoot, or?
I think it was styled shoots. And then maybe the first couple actual clients, I barely charged them or just charged them to cover the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It was like 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Or a while ago. It just, it's the same as photography. Like when I first started my business, I would literally just overhear someone in a coffee shop talking about planning their wedding. And I would walk over there and say, hey, you don't have to pay me. I don't know if you already have a photographer. Can I just please show up and take pictures?
Wow.
I just wanted to be there, be at the wedding, because nothing gives you the experience or the street credit or of having actual pictures or things from actual weddings. So
yeah, because that's what I'm curious about. I got married in 2011.
Okay.
My wife doesn't hear that. And I feel like, flowers are definitely almost, if not more trendy than photographers. Like the trends have changed so much over the years.
So much.
And like when we got married, it was all about like baby's breath and just greenery and burlap and all that, like lace. Yeah, exactly. And then it like transitioned into like peonies or like the big thing and like colorful flowers. And now we're in this like muted tones.
Art. Just make it art as art.
Artsy. Yeah, exactly. So like I'm just curious as to how you approach that, because I'm sure your clients had never seen that before. And then you had this vision in your head that you were like, no, it's gonna look cool. And so do you remember like
people just people just trust us. Like I said, I
Yeah.
think something I love to do is build my website, and I just put my whole self out there, like this is what, and I think it really just invokes trust because people definitely seem far less concerned with the details than they used to. They
Mhm.
kind of just are on board, and they almost, they have a vision, and but a lot of people just are kind of like, whatever, it's cool, like just a lot of my clients also actually aren't creatives themselves.
Yeah.
A huge percentage of my clients are in the medical field or working in some kind of office, or so
Hmm.
they kind of have this creative desire inside of them,
Hmm.
but they know that that's not what they do, and so they see us and they just say, sure, run with it, go for it, I just want what you do for, and but I don't have time to think about it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps that you've kind of positioned yourself as like the authority in those areas. So good job. Good job to you.
Sedona, yeah, for sure. It's been very cool.
But
And
yeah.
a lot of people are concerned with that. I mean, they really do ask us, like, okay, so you're a local, like you live there.
Yeah. So concerned.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I'm glad that you can assure them and be like, yeah, I am the local here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
then as far as integrating you were asking about planning and how that,
yeah, so we've covered flowers, and then
uh-huh.
yeah, how did you find your Kelsey? How can I find a Kelsey?
Yeah, how did I find my Kelsey? So Kelsey was a bridesmaid at a wedding that I photographed in Hawaii.
Mhm. Wow.
So a destination wedding, already you're spending a lot of time with the people because it's usually kind of a weekend long event. So you kind of, get to know the people more. And I actually was staying at they just rented a giant Airbnb and had everyone stay there because it was
Mhm.
small enough that everyone could. It was a giant property. So that's how I met Kelsey. We kind of hit it off. And I mean, gosh, it was very lucky for us to find each other because
No kidding.
you know, we both knew what we wanted. So I want to own a company and I want my vision to be out there, and I want to express that in the way that a leader would. Kelsey knows about herself that she wants to be the best number two that's on in the world.
Yeah.
And so I find that the the relationships that don't work in the wedding industry is when both people want to be the number one.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty common for people in this industry to want to be the leader of a situation, which I totally understand. That's how I am. And so Kelsey was just really interested in the vision that I already created, and she wanted to be on board. And I would say that's huge.
Hmm.
That's huge.
So then was she from Sedona at the time, or like,
No, she lives down in Scottsdale, which is in the Phoenix area.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so it just happened that she was a bridesmaid in a wedding that you photographed in Hawaii.
Well,
Was
because
in Scottsdale,
the
or
bride lived in the area too.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So we all kind of were from Arizona, and then we all went to Hawaii. And then, yeah.
Gotcha. So it
Yeah.
just like by chance that she was local, and was able to come on board. So then what was that conversation like? Were you like, I need somebody to do
So
this?
in my mind, I was already thinking like, gosh, Kelsey's really talented and I really like her. I wonder how we could work together more. And then she proposed if I had any opportunities for her because she had just
Wow.
recently quit her corporate job and was looking for kind of a creative outlet to go down,
Mhm.
but she doesn't like bookkeeping or building a website or doing social media or running a business or all those kind of things that come along
Yeah.
with running a business. So I think holding out for the right people is key.
Yeah. And also it seems like just taking advantage of a situation and not an
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, I just we're so lucky that we found what we love to do. I mean, more
Yeah.
than anything, because it makes it easy. We just love what we do, and that's what we do.
Yeah. So moving on to this new stationery thing that you have coming up, is that something that's like being birthed out of what you guys are passionate about, or did you find like somebody else who's like, yeah, I have this skill set?
That person just got here, and I just have to sign for a package. It looks like.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Okay. So stationery.
Yeah. So what did you like? How is this happening? Did you find somebody who's like passionate about stationery and is like, I want to join the team, or is this something that you guys are passionate about and you're like, we should get into this? Like, how is that now shaping up?
Yeah. Having our own custom line of stationery was just on my little list that I made a long time ago as a way that sounded really fun to have more of our brand be part of more of the wedding day.
Yeah.
And I have a very close friend that I went to middle school and high school with. And we actually had already worked on projects, in 7th grade together. I mean, she's one of my best friends. She kind of fell into this when I wanted this to happen. And because she also quit her corporate job and was kind of like looking for wanting to be, continue on with her graphic design and her wedding stationery designs. And something that I was noticing was that a lot of our brides were hiring stationery people to do completely custom suites. Just, beautiful paintings of Sedona with just the most beautiful, I mean, stationery now is like, it's like a work of art.
Yeah.
So, but there's zero affordable options that also include Sedona on them because it's such a small place. It's not like you can go to minted.com and find, the arches in Utah or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Since 100% of our clients are destination clients, I find that they're really obsessed with Sedona and they really want to kind of share that with everyone that's at their wedding, and they want all these Red Rock things on everything. And so it seemed like something that people would really like was to do actual custom stationery that had the Red Rocks of Sedona on it. And in conjunction with that, like I was talking about our elopement clients who are doing small weddings but still want all the details, there's nowhere that they can go to buy small batch invitations. It's really kind of like a minimum of 50, I think.
Yeah.
And so people are like, what am I going to do with 50 invitations? They don't want that, but they still want that picture with their ring and the ribbon and their personal stationery and stuff because they want those details. And so yes, so my friend lives in Texas now. She designed all the suites. We're in the middle of photographing them now. We're really excited to launch them, and it's just another thing. It's very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I guess that's something that you don't necessarily have to have a team member there being like a graphic design person. You can just get meetings like this, just talk about ideas.
I'm the only person that lives in Sedona on my team. Well, that's not true. One of our associate photographers in training lives in Sedona, but out of all of us, we all live kind of all over.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the uniqueness of having like 100% destination clients. Like they're not coming to meet you. It's all online.
Yes, exactly.
This is kind of like more of like relevant conversation. So how then is this like whole Corona thing affecting your guys' business? Because I'm sure it's affected everybody, but you guys are all online. So it's not like your meetings at least are being interrupted, but
yeah, our day-to-day is actually pretty much the same. I'm the only person that's here in my studio, and so I get to quarantine here. I love being able to keep this routine. Basically everyone is postponing their weddings to a future date. And there's a couple people who are in kind of some of the more extreme areas who maybe don't have a job now and are kind of wondering if it is even going to happen. But it's not as bad as some people, for sure. It's
Yeah.
still sort of work as usual because we all work from home anyway.
Yeah, that's nice. Does Arizona have any restrictions right now?
Yes. So it's a class 1 misdemeanor in Sedona to hold a gathering or a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very loosely worded rule.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think the state of Arizona is getting close to closing, but the rules are not very strict here in
Yeah.
general.
I was thinking about that for you specifically. I don't know if people have like seen your work. I'm sure they'll check it out after hearing this, but like a lot of your couples are, it's out in nature. It's just them. And like
Yes.
you're taking pictures from like feet away. So like you
Yes,
could follow the
yes.
guidelines and still happen, but
The issue is that they live far away. So the traveling here, like I have a couple coming up from New York, and
it's a hot spot.
right, and so I think they're like, I don't know if anyone's gonna let us fly in, or so that's the real issue, is that most everyone is flying in from another state, and so the unknown is if they could even get here. But yeah, just two people out in nature outside feels fine to me.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on this topic because it's just like flooding every media outlet. I did have a couple questions about like, so your couples are coming in and they've never been to Sedona, and you have all these like beautiful spots. Some of them I'm sure you have to like hike to. I mean, I've seen some pictures where you have to like, you need vehicles to get to.
Yep.
How, like, what's the process of you like suggesting spots? Because these brides are obviously in like wedding dresses and
Totally.
heels.
Yes. In the beginning, I was pretty sheepish. Like, it would be really cool if you would hire this Jeep for $300 to take us to this really cool spot. I promise it will be worth it. Or, yeah, I need you to come in hiking clothes, pack your wedding dress on your back. It's going to be a little bit like rock climbing, but I promise it'll be worth it. But then it just quickly became apparent to me that people really want this. They want so much. They're very much willing to do anything to get these cool pictures. And even people who it's not very realistic or practical still want it. And so now it's just pretty much a given that people will hike, rent a Jeep, do anything crazy because they're coming here for the pictures. That's what they want.
We'll definitely link some work, and I recommend people go check it out because the pictures are like amazing, and the Jeep ones, it's terrifying. It's actually off-roading, like vertical riding up mountain walls to get to these spots.
It's not my favorite thing to do, but
it looks terrifying sometimes.
Take a Dramamine and just like hold on.
And there's even, you have a couple of spots that you frequent that it doesn't look that safe. I don't know if that's safe to say, but like, I'm sure it is safe because they seem like popular spots, but I'm like, that's a 200-foot cliff right next to them.
Yeah. The spots that you're referring to that look unsafe are not spots that I've suggested that people go out.
Okay.
It's more like we're out there and they're like, I want to go there. That looks really cool. Okay, let's do it. Like, I have not personally climbed out on some of these spots, but people want it. They've seen the pictures. That's what they want.
I mean, the pictures look amazing, so it's kind of worth it. I don't know.
Totally. It's like once in a lifetime, this amazing picture that you'll have for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
What's cooler than that?
Yeah. So then what's like a day of like preparing for a wedding for you? Like what kind of outfits are you wearing? Shoes? Are you wearing like boots? It's like almost like you're going out into the desert and
elopements are constantly kind of a struggle between like, I definitely need to wear my Doc Martens, but how can I also look professional?
Yeah.
So I've kind of put a lot of effort into figuring out what still looks nice, but that I can hike in. So, because some of the hikes are intense, like really you're scrambling up a mountain. So a lot of times I just rely on all black. Lululemon comes in clutch. They have really nice looking clothes that you can still hike in. And then with some of the hikes, it's like, hey, I'm showing up to your wedding in a beanie and a sweatshirt because it's December and we're climbing a mountain and there's just the way around it.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm sure there's lots of different outfits that you get to play around with.
Yes, definitely.
And then have you ever had places where like you're like, no, I'm not doing this. This is far too sketchy. Has that happened before? I mean, it's tough as a photographer. You just want to always like please your client and get like the cool shot. But
definitely do. You're like, okay, yeah. Especially now that my clients are really the ones wanting to do this. Like they're out on these ledges doing yoga or something. Or handstands. You're like, oh, okay. I'll take the picture. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever been put in a position where, because usually I know the spot really well, or I'm far enough back that they're the ones out on the ledge.
It's on them. Yeah, go for it. I'll be back here. My 70 to 200.
Actually, before we had like a really solid rhythm with who our Jeep driver was, we kind of were using just people who had a Jeep.
Yeah.
So I had one couple in particular who was really egging on the Jeep driver to like, we want an adventure, like do something crazy. And he admitted to me later that he was really nervous the Jeep was going to flip. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you have some more security with your Jeep guys.
Same.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes, saying no to these ideas because you're like, this sounds like a good idea, but I'm also terrified. But the result might be worth it, but I might die. So let's flip a coin.
I've just learned like the muscle memory in the back of my head to not move my feet is super strong now. Like I don't accidentally step to get the shot. A lot of times when I'm shooting up there, I'm using like my 24 to 70 lens so that I don't have to move.
Yeah.
And
wait, that's how like precarious it is sometimes. Like if you can't move.
Yeah, totally. Like I don't want to be moving my feet without looking at where my feet are. So
wait, can you paint a picture of like what that would look like? Like where is that? Is that up in like the mountains? I'm assuming there's some heights involved.
Yeah, so Sedona is kind of right at the base of a giant plateau. It's the same plateau that the Grand Canyon is carved out of.
Yeah.
And it's just really high up. I think it's about 6,400 feet, whereas we're down at 4,000 feet-ish. Yeah. So to get up to some of these cool spots, so you get in the Jeep and it's a super bumpy road all the way up. Like really, really bumpy. It's definitely off-roading. You need a Jeep.
Yeah.
It's quite a ride. And you get out there and a lot of the rock formations look so cool because they're kind of like withered away.
Yeah.
And since a lot of our clients are coming here because they love to travel, they love adventure, they love these amazing photos, they're full of adrenaline because they just got married or they just proposed to their girlfriend. They're like, yeah let's climb the mountain. And so they kind of scale up and then people are of course super considerate and super kind and want to help me or carry my bag or do this or that, but they're just excited. Yeah. And so when you're excited in an adventurous situation, you just really go for it versus me who does this all the time, who is watching where I step. Like, yeah,
you're kind of like, you're sober in the situation. You're just like,
right. Exactly. I'm sober in the situation. Like maybe I've done it 4 times this week already. So I'm feeling a little bit tired. I really need to make sure my stamina is there to be climbing in kind of these spots. And sometimes I would say that I'm standing on pieces of rock that are barely larger than myself. You kind of are walking out and I'm trying to get, maybe like 4 feet in depth.
Yeah.
Would be kind of like a normal situation. So when you're there, you just don't move your feet. Or if you need to like make an adjustment, you kind of walk back to where there's more solid ground and kind of change your gear, go back out, really plant your feet, and then
I'd stay there.
Yeah.
I'm like terrified of heights. My heart's like pounding right now.
Oh, yeah. So that would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely had people back out because the heights were just not doing it for them.
Yeah.
And then I've definitely had couples where one person really wanted the picture and one person was afraid of heights, but they did it anyway because
it
was
you get that face where you're just like the don't die face. I'm having fun, I promise.
If people are afraid of heights, I just have them do a pose where I say, you're the size of ants in my frame. I can't see your face. Just lean into each other.
Yeah. Just hug.
We'll make this super quick. We'll get the shot.
Yeah. Like the picture doesn't pick up like knee shaking movement.
Yes, exactly. I tell it's not video, so you look fine. Like it's just a picture.
Yeah. Talk through it. Swear if you need to. Do whatever you.
And I usually take a picture on my phone so that right after I can give them that instant
that's good.
And they're like, okay, that was really cool, but
never. Yeah, that's a pro tip. That's a good pro tip.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was afraid of heights, I don't think this would be a well-suited job for me.
No kidding. If I'm ever down there, I'll take a look at some of these spots and let you know if I could do it. Probably not. The answer is probably not.
Yeah. Some of them are sort of camera angles. Like you could stay back against a solid rock and it would still look really cool. Like you don't need to go all the way out to the edge to kind of get it. So that's what I tell people too. Like it will look just as cool if you're leaning against this rock as if you're just 3 steps out. Like we're still getting the shot in the scene. So if we can get it really quick, then your partner will be very excited. It's an act of love.
Yeah. So are you ever having to like ring people in? Because like you said, people are excited, adrenaline's going. Like I'm sure that you've had some people be like, okay, tone it down.
Some people just kind of go and they aren't aware in the situation that what they just did was like sort of crazy. And so then they're like, oh, well, here, let me grab your bag. Like, I'll help you. Or maybe they're just in phenomenal physical condition. Like one guy was in the special forces in Australia, which is kind of like being a Navy SEAL here. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, basically he was like unstoppable. He could do anything. Or people that just work out all the time. Sometimes it's honestly kind of embarrassing. I had a group of people who are like CrossFit weightlifters in Hawaii. Yeah. And just in phenomenal physical shape. Yeah. Also, they love to get that workout, like let's sweat as much as we can.
Get the pump on. Yeah.
So they're just like running up this mountain and I'm like, okay, this is a work day for me. I don't quite have the same adrenaline. Yeah. It's really hard for me to kind of say like, okay, I guess I'll just meet you at the top. Like I just kind of have to go slow because I can't just pass out.
You're going ahead. Oh. I got to think for the next 15 minutes about what
I just need to say. So it's kind of hard to be honest sometimes, like, oh, good, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm sure it's interesting because you're like somewhat responsible for them. I mean, you're the one bringing them out to these spots, and like they're excited because like you're there and you've brought them there. And they're having these amazing pictures. So
right, and they wanna learn all about it, and they want to chat with me the whole way up. And I have to say like, I don't have the same adrenaline you do. Like sometimes I get out of breath and I can't just talk the whole time that we climb this mountain. Which again is hard. You just want to be everything. You want to be the tour guide and you want to be the picture taker and you want to give them every single experience that the moment has to offer.
Yeah. But you're human.
But I'm human.
You're just Jane. I have one question that we kind of want to ask all of our interviewees. And it's, do you have any like horror stories? Anything that's like gone like terribly wrong? Your elopements, your weddings?
Yeah, I mean,
give us the juicy stuff.
There's like there's like casual horror stories, like, oh, the bride fell in the creek and her dress is soaked, or there was a day where it was pouring rain, and so I pulled up in the parking lot and I accidentally took someone else's couple out to go do photos.
No way.
Like the communication just wasn't there because it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
So I was texting my client on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so for some reason it seemed to just go hand in hand with the couple that was standing right there. We didn't ask names, and you know, kind of just that was a tough one. So like 18 minutes into the shoot. Well, so at the first
you started taking pictures.
Oh yeah, we full on had a shoot. And I even said at the beginning, I was like, gosh, I don't know why. I just thought your name was Jessica. And she was like, oh no. And then I was embarrassed, like, gosh, okay, like I really need to get on and remember my couple's names better.
Yeah.
So then like 18 minutes-ish, 20 minutes into the pictures, I just kind of started asking them more questions, and I was like, yeah, you are not my couple. My own couple was pretty perturbed. They were they had to like hear the whole story in kind of a comical way to realize how funny it was.
Yeah.
They got their whole shoot on another day that wasn't pouring rain, so it really worked out for them because then they got all the sun and the red rocks. And
that's good. So wait, what about this couple that you took 18 minutes of photos? Did they get their photos too from you, or?
Yeah, they were actually like pretty stoked because I wasn't in their budget range, but they really would have loved to hire me. And so then they were like, can we just have the pictures? And I was like, yeah, for sure. You can definitely have the pictures. Like no one is. So, you know, there's stories like that kind of end in a comical way where everything works out. And then there's real horror stories like I'm crying on the wedding day because things are going so poorly, or because I'm being kind of really put on the spot in a way that's really uncomfortable because of certain dynamics, and I kind of have to keep it together in like a really cool way, and then still be there for these people for the rest of the day. Yeah. To me, that's a real horror story. It's like when you show up on the day of and that immediate bond doesn't happen, and maybe it seems like they don't really like you, or they kind of don't want you around, which could be true, or they could just be really nervous, or they could just not like having their picture taken. And if it gets too dramatic, you know, that can be really hard because the pressure is on you as the photographer to build that relationship throughout the whole day so that they feel more and more comfortable, so that you can get better and better photos, so that by the end of the day, their guard is down and you can give them exactly what you want. And if that doesn't happen, to me, that's a real horror story, is if I know that I'm having a hard time getting what I need to deliver what these people booked me for.
Yeah. I feel like those stories aren't ever really talked about too much. I mean, I'm sure they are in like smaller groups and smaller community groups, but a lot of people don't understand like what the pressure on I know what you mean. Like some days you're actually like, you don't want to be there sometimes, and you're like, they don't want me. I feel like I'm doing terrible. Like, why am I here? But you're like, they hired me. I have to stick it out.
Yeah, exactly. I actually, at one of these weddings, kind of in the middle of the night, just turned to my second shooter and I said, I need you to cover the next hour of the day. And I'll pay you my hourly rate for this next hour, because I'm having such a meltdown right now, and I don't know how to approach this couple or the day because I'm getting so emotionally caught up in it, or whatever. You know, of course I would only do that with someone I knew that was 100% capable of shooting a wedding on their own, and with this particular person I absolutely was. He could have covered the whole day on his own in an incredible way, but you know, so that has happened where it's like you're still at work and sometimes it's really hard and you just have to do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it helps. It makes you stronger in a way. It helps
100%.
You kind of go back to the drawing board and you're like, okay, how do I avoid this situation from ever happening again?
Yeah. Or what I could have done more on that day was leaned more on my team from an earlier point in the day.
Yeah.
I could have voiced like what was happening. I had other people maybe communicate with the bride instead of me.
Mm-hmm.
Have little pep talks, like, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like you have a good team now, and that probably doesn't happen too much, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Kelsey's there, so you're all good, right?
Yes, everything's fine with Kelsey's there.
The
ultimate pep talker.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I have no more questions, and I feel like you've done an amazing job of explaining everything,
Thanks.
like your business. Where can people find you on like social media, website, and do you have any projects coming up in the next little bit, like your stationery? Where can they find that?
Yeah, so we're just Jane in the Woods everywhere. Our website is Jane in the Woods, Instagram, Pinterest. And so we have our stationery project coming up, which I'm really excited to launch because that'll be available for anyone to buy. Save the dates, elopement announcements, invitations. Some of them have actual Sedona red rocks on them, but some of them don't. And, they could be used for all different sorts of situations in all different locations. And that, with the current events, I think we're kind of pushing it out a little bit to kind of see what happens, and because we want the launch to be really exciting. Mm-hmm. Something that we just launched was our associate photographer based in Las Vegas, which
so cool.
I think is going to be super relevant now. What we're hearing from a lot of people currently is that they wanted to plan a wedding and then the world kind of fell apart, but they still want to get married.
Yeah.
And so instead of planning a whole big thing, they just kind of want to elope. Like, let's just go do it in a quick, fun, but awesome way. And Vegas is definitely the easiest place to elope. I mean, just walk into the courthouse, it takes about 20 minutes to get your paperwork. If you have an awesome photographer with you, which our associate Amber is amazing, she can just take you to whatever cool spot you want. It's done and done.
Yeah. And I just have to say, it's definitely not a chapel with Elvis marrying you and super cheesy wedding dresses. But it can be, yeah.
No, it's very, it's very different, I think, than what people have in their mind. Mm-hmm. And so if you're looking for a really quick, fun way to elope, we have lots of pictures on our website now of what it looks like to be in Las Vegas. There's very cool scenery. There's big wide open deserts with beautiful landscapes and cool art. And it's a cool place.
The pictures that we've seen so far, like, amazing. It's every time you send in a session, we're like, everyone's looking at the pictures. Like, this is so cool. Like, just so much variety with like the different casinos and the lights and the different roads and the deserts there, everything. So cool.
Yeah. We love all our people. It's very cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jane.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. I hope we got everything in that you wanted to talk about.
Definitely. And if anybody wants to follow Jane, make sure to check out her website, janeinthewoods.com, Jane in the Woods on social media, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, all of those places. And if you want to get married in Sedona, check her out.
You definitely know what that's about and how to do it well.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. They have Jane and Kelsey, so you're in good hands.
For sure. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
As always, Jane's work can be found in the podcast show notes, so make sure you check out everything her and her team are doing and go give her some love. We're having so much fun sharing these conversations, so thank you for listening and giving us your feedback. Our hope is that you can learn something to take your business to the next level while finding balance between work and your life. Our next conversation, we have Ann Scott Virtue from White Shutter Photography, and we talk all about her work in photojournalism and the commercial industry and how that shaped her approach to photographing weddings. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. If you found this conversation interesting, let us know by sending us a DM on Instagram @postpartner or send us an email to hello@postpartner.com. We look forward to sharing more of our conversations in the next few weeks. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode. See you later.